Hey, before we get into the video, I would like to thank some Patreons who contributed to the channel. Ozzy0, Worst Spy TF2, Thomas Haynes, James Westbrook Jr., Ponyboy _ 1989, Tulip Mango, Extreme Xavier 15, Super Days, Silent, and Emerald Henry. Thank you all for contributing to the channel. Patreon link is in the description to help support the channel. Anything helps, and you will be eligible for benefits based on any amount you give. If you have not watched part 1 of this video, I highly recommend that you go back and watch it, because you'll be very confused on what's happening here. In my previous randomizers, I've gotten comments asking me to release the full writing of spins and dice rolls and everything for my randomizers, and what I wanted to do was put them in the description of my videos, but the YouTube description has a word limit, and surprisingly, my entire things somehow exceed the character count of YouTube descriptions. But at the time you are watching this video, I will have released the entire script for this randomizer on my Patreon. I'm not gonna lock it behind a tier paywall because I don't imagine many people will want to use it anyways. It's just free. Click the link in the description, scroll down a bit, and you should be able to find all the spins just as one big text block. Just wanted to say that before we get into the video because I know people have been asking about it. Let's begin. Add remaining contestants onto one merge wheel, which I have done. I have saved them to a separate merge wheel. Mal and Duncan here, Mal's not here. Spin merge wheel to decide who gets the early lead with a good boat. So this is going to be the Alejandro who gets an early lead in the challenge, and it is Courtney. She's a little bit more determined in this world. Maybe she didn't stay back for Scott before, like, she went to Boney Island to separate from him, so she's going forward and focusing on the challenge to try and not think about how she's feeling about him. Spin merge wheel twice to decide what two people ride together, excluding Mal. Mal's not here, but this is the Courtney-Gwen dynamic. First person would be Sam riding with Duncan. They really don't have any pre-established connection. Sam maybe like forces himself onto Duncan's boat, like Duncan's staying close behind Courtney to try and win the challenge. Sam also really cares about winning a challenge, maybe like set that for the merge. He's like, oh, I really want to win a challenge. I feel like it'd be big for a person like me. So Duncan gets on the second boat. Sam throws himself onto the second boat with Duncan. Duncan tells them to like get off, but they don't have enough time because they just have to leave. So they kind of like by force ride together. If Mal is still here, Mal is not. Everyone else rides by themselves in different water transports. Spin wheel to decide who rides what. So first spin is going to be for who rides the boat of losers, which is the boat that Mal rode originally that had a cover over it, which was pretty good. Zoe. Pretty fitting that in the original Mal wrote it, and now in this world, Zoe's the one who writes it. Motorboat, just normal motorboat, looked pretty similar to Gwen and Courtney's, maybe a little worse, but Lindsay. Okay, that works. Lindsay definitely seems like the motorboat modelish kind of person, so it seems like the kind of thing she'd like. Wooden boat, and that goes to Heather. I imagine she's not pumped by that. First come, first serve. So I don't know how Lindsay outran all of these people, to be fair. I mean, Cameron, I guess, makes sense. Maybe Scott was, they mentioned the merge. Courtney pushed him down just as our challenge. Chris came, whatever. Maybe Heather, she was on the losing team. So yeah, she slept on the bed badly, hurt her back. That's what we're going to go with. Next is for the raft, which is originally the raft that all the other 4 people rode on. Wait, actually, I think I did this wrong. So if person rolled has connection with one of the other people, preseason connection, any other indication of positive connection during the season, then they will invite them onto their boat. Yeah, okay, so no, Zoe would have helped Cameron get with that, and they would have rowed together on that boat. Cameron wouldn't get the raft. Scott would get the raft. Yeah, that's how that would go. If someone rode on the floaty, no one rode on the floaty. If Scott is with someone, he's not with anyone. If Zoe is here, then she will do her plan to put herself in danger. That's only if Mal is here. Mal will save her. Yeah, Mal's not here, so that doesn't matter. Roll a 1 in 20 dice to decide if someone still tries to blow up Chris's mansion. If someone does, then only account for the people that were in the back and weren't busy with something else. Scott murders or sacrifice floaty. If someone still tries to blow up the mansion, which I really hope they don't. 1 out of 20. If it lands on 2, someone will try to blow up the mansion. 5. Okay, good. No one tries to do it. Don't have to deal with all that. Spin merge wheel only accounting for people that rode on the good boats, early free, and then the boat of losers. And Scott motor machine if that happened, but it didn't happen. That would be Courtney, Duncan, and Sam riding together, and then Zoe and Cameron. Everyone else would be kind of dead in water. These are 3 boats. Which boat crosses finish line first? Courtney crosses it. In order to do any guesswork on like who gets the win with the pairs, Courtney wins the challenge. She gets invincibility. Spin merge wheel, add a no one option to decide who the winner takes to the spa hotel. Unless they were part of the double boat, then they take the other person. They weren't part of the double boat. Zoe, how does that work? Because she was part of the Mike boot. Maybe that's why she does it. Maybe she wants to try and kind of make that all water under the bridge. That was all so long ago. We can be friends now. Because Courtney wants to take the game more seriously, take her mind off Scott. So she's aware that this is a loose end, that she really upset Zoe by doing this. So she takes Zoe as a gesture to be like, oh, look, I'm not that bad. We could work together. Something to that effect. Mal's here. He's not here. If Mal isn't here, spin wheel minus winner, and with disadvantage if it applies, +1 disadvantage to leader uriner that succeeded in taking down the other if they didn't like it. That never happened. So we're just going to spin who gets eliminated, not accounting for Courtney. First merge boot is Duncan. I'm not sure how to feel about that. Courtney obviously doesn't like Duncan, so I think she could be part of this vote. Scott maybe thinks that the reason Courtney is drifting away from him is because the reminder of Duncan so much, so maybe he gets on that vote too. Zoe, I don't think would want to vote Duncan, so I'm going to have to put over here for now. Cameron probably also goes along with that. Lindsay, Heather, and Sam, I'm not 100% on. Heather would probably want Duncan gone because she knows Duncan's a big threat. She played with him a lot. He's just won a season. And again, she also is kind of connected to Courtney in like a manipulative way. Sam and Lindsay are deciding votes. I don't feel like Lindsay particularly hates Duncan. I don't know who she'd exactly want gone in Duncan's place, though. Heather, I could see that being the other vote, that like Duncan, Zoe, and Cameron are getting on. They're getting on to vote Heather. So Lindsay might want to join that. I don't know about Sam. I mean, he was with Duncan on the boat today. Maybe they fought a lot, or Scott comes and pulls Sam's side, and Sam on this side not having great connections because Cameron and Zoe both kind of screwed, and Lindsay stopped being friends with him. So maybe Sam's like easily susceptible to that sort of manipulation. Heather and Duncan have a tie, and then Heather wins the tie. That's the closest I can get to making this make sense. And then you could also say like Alejandro interferes in the tiebreaker to help Heather win. Or does he? Because they fought in World Tour and she kind of disrespected him in the win. I'm not sure. This is a maybe. I'm still not really sure what I'm doing with Alejandro. If Maverick votes, he didn't. Spalto's blown up. It wasn't. Flip coins to the side. If this is successful, convincing rigged and others. That's about the rigged votes. Didn't happen. Spin merge wheel twice to see what two people trip onto each other from the cracked floorboard and decide to work together. This is the Scott and Courtney like kiss moment. I'm not making it a kiss because I think that's weird and forced. If you want to headcanon it as a kiss, you do you, man. I don't care. Courtney, yeah, I mean headcanon that if you want, you weirdo. In this world, my writing, I'm just going to say, they tripped on each other, but they didn't kiss. It was just like a way that they to each other, and then Heather took this moment to talk to Courtney. Maybe specifically more about Scott noticing how she's been acting. Courtney tries to deny it, but Heather tells her, like, no, it's okay, I understand. It's like distracting the play with someone who you're attracted to, which Courtney asks, like, Alejandro. Heather obviously would deny that, but that's clearly what it is. Heather, like, offers Courtney, like, some girl advice to help her not be thinking about Scott so much, which Courtney, she doesn't like Heather, but she's kind of desperate, so she accepts that help. Spin merge wheel 3 times. Once to decide who is manipulating someone, next to decide who is being manipulated, and third to decide who they're being manipulated to not trust, which is the Mal, Cameron, Gwen situation. I'm not going to make it a Mal-specific spin, because I don't think it has to be a Mal-specific spin for someone to be manipulated. First spin is the manipulator. The manipulator is Courtney to decide who she's manipulating. Lindsay. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But then who is she manipulating Lindsay against? Let's put our singing camps on. Oh, maybe it's her setting seeds to Lindsay that Heather wants her gone. So even though like they obviously don't like each other, she isn't manipulating Lindsay to make her think, oh, Heather doesn't like you, because that's not news. She's manipulating Lindsay to let her think Heather is gunning for you. So you should start thinking about like how you're gonna get her out first. That's what she's manipulating her for. So that's like backup plan in case Heather is revealed to like be playing her, because Courtney's starting to catch wind of that. For the challenge, the two tripped people will go on one path that Courtney and Scott went on originally. Heather and Courtney will go on that path. Spin merge wheel to decide who will go on their own, the Alejandro path, and then the other 4 go to the holes. And then spin from the remaining 5 to see who goes on their own. Cameron. Why does... Maybe what Lightning said to him when they were, buddying up when Cameron came on the villains team is actually getting to him, because Lightning was saying like, oh, we're both winners, both finalists, we gotta look out for each other. And then Cameron starts to notice like, oh, Lightning got voted out that same round, he was a finalist, Duncan was a finalist, he got voted out. Now Cameron's worried, I'm next. Lightning was right, the finalists are going. So Cameron decides to go on his own to like win for himself. Maybe it's like paranoid of Zoe or whoever. He has the original episode where he's like, I'm a lone wolf, like Lightning, I gotta say Shaw something. Out of the 4 that went to the holes, spin twice to decide how they get separated down the first hole, and then flip coin to decide which of these 2 get captured by Zeke. So 4 people here, which 2 fall down the first hole, like kind of unintentionally. Scott falls down the hole, and Lindsay falls down the hole. That's an interesting duo. Scott and Lindsay, I don't think they've interacted at all. They weren't on the same teams. I don't think I'm going to say it's a Gwen thing where like someone fell and then the other person chased them down, because I don't see Lindsay going down to just chase and save Scott, and I don't see Scott doing the same for Lindsay. I think what I'll say is that Lindsay maybe has the same hole that opens up beneath her like Gwen, but then she grabs onto someone to try and save herself, and that person happens to be Scott. So they both fall down the same hole, and then Zoe and Sam, I guess they go down a different hole at that point. That seems kind of out of character, because they were both very nice people and they probably would want to, save them. But it is also Scott, so maybe they're like, yeah, no, we'll leave him to deal with that because the path we're looking at looks a lot better. So now I flip a coin between Scott and Lindsay to decide who gets captured by Zeke. Heads, Lindsay gets captured. Tails, Scott gets captured. Lindsay gets captured by Zeke. For the other pair, flip coin to decide if either of them plan to break up the Trippers connection if Malzeri would. First, do they plan to break up the connection of Heather and Courtney because they noticed that, I guess. Heads, they do. Tails, they do not. Heads, they do. I guess they're playing the game a bit more seriously. If yes, flip coin to decide which of them suggested it to the other. Heads, Sam suggested it to Zoe. Tails, Zoe suggested it to Sam. Zoe suggested it to Sam. Zoe had been a fan of the show and Revenge of the Island. She knows Heather and Courtney have a history of them being very effective when they work together, like they were on Team Amazon. Zoe notices that and starts to get worried that, like, oh, something might be going on there. We should break them up before they make it harder for us. I guess that makes sense to Sam too. He probably feels a bit indebted to Zoe for what he did to Mike. So that's another element of it. Trippers connection fall from above into this pair, and if they plan to break them up, they will try it here and make them fight, both getting caught by Zeke. Then they plan to break them up, and the Trippers escape, and the other pair caught by Zeke. So they did plan to break up the pair of Heather and Courtney, which means when they crash into them, Zoe gets Heather and Courtney to fight, and they both get captured by Zeke. I'm not going to say it's in the same element that we could just say that Zoe, having seen the show, has a lot of knowledge about their history and uses that against them. Maybe talks about action where Heather cut off a chunk of Courtney's hair, and here's the leader of Team Amazon, Heather being mad at Courtney on World Tour for throwing challenges. Stuff like that, making Heather and Courtney remember more and more that, oh yeah, they don't like each other and they don't get along well. Then they bicker, Zeke comes and takes them. Zoe and Sam leave while that's happening, which again, kind of a villainous move for them to leave Heather and Courtney to get attacked by Zeke, but I guess in this world Zoe is trying to show a little bit more edge. She's not being as nice. Whatever 2 people that run, flip coin to decide which of them have the floor open up from beneath them and grab onto the root, which is what Cameron did. Heads, the floor opens up beneath Zoe. Tails, it opens up beneath Sam. So the floor opens up to be Sam. He drops, he grabs onto the root. If Mal is the other that didn't fall in the hole, Mal's not the other, then they will go off and try to find something to reach down to them. So Zoe will tell Sam to hold on, and then goes to try and find a stick to reach down to him. Person that went on their own will find whole person. So Cameron will find Sam, and now flip coin to see if whole person trusts them to take their hand to be freed. Figure out the reasoning after that, but heads, Sam trusts Cameron. Tails, he does not trust Cameron. Okay, good. So yeah, he trusts Cameron. I don't know how Cameron would get Sam out because he's very weak. I really doubt he'd be able to pull Sam up. I guess we could say maybe that Cameron going on his own actually hardened him, it actually worked. And now he's gone a little crazy going through the caves by himself. He looks like one of those people that get lost on an island for a year and then becomes a full-on survival expert, and he thinks it's been days or weeks. Days or weeks. If whole person is saved here, which they are, flip coin to decide if Zeke takes them or the solo person. If whole person didn't get saved, solo person will be caught. Whole person, they get saved. So flip coin. Heads, Cameron gets captured by Zeke. Tails, Sam gets captured by Zeke. Sam gets captured by Zeke. Okay. If ever actually went to get whole person help, then flip coin to decide if they make it back in time to help or not. Well, Sam already got up, so it doesn't matter if they get there in time. But if ever is able to save in time, then again, flip coin is thing. If they weren't able to get there in time, then they get taken. It's not that she wasn't able to get there in time, but it's that Sam was already saved. That does mean she'd be taken because Cameron would already be gone and Zeke would still be there like he originally was for Mal. Person that went in first hole will save whole person if they fell in water, gaining their trust. Whole person didn't fall down, so nobody would get in trust there. Roll a 1 to 3 dice to see if someone gets injured while fighting Zeke. If someone does, then spin merge wheel with remaining uncaptured people to decide who. First, spinning to see if someone gets injured. 1, someone does. 2 and 3, they do not. they do not. Spin merge wheel with remaining non-captured people to decide who wins the challenge. I don't think I have to spin a wheel because it's just Scott and Cameron, so I'm just going to flip a coin. Heads, Cam wins the challenge. Tails, Scott wins the challenge. Cameron wins the challenge. Okay, so Cameron really did follow through on the advice on going lone wolf strategy. That's pretty cool. I don't know how I want to decide that he defeats Zeke. I feel like I'd like it if it is still him using his brains, even though he's like gone through this like wilderness thing. He'd probably just let Scott go in first. Scott distracts Zeke for a time being, and then Cameron takes Chef's pasta launcher that he brought in and shoots Zeke while Scott's distracting him. If someone got injured, they will automatically be eliminated. No one did. Otherwise, spin merge wheel minus winner to decide who gets voted out. Plus 3 disadvantage to Mel. Person trying to frame, that didn't happen. Plus 1 disadvantage to Mel. Following that didn't happen. Framing failed, that didn't happen. Someone found DVD, that didn't happen. So no disadvantages. Who gets eliminated? Heather. Lindsay really followed through on her plan of getting Heather eliminated. Maybe Lindsay was talking to Scott, like before she got captured, about how Heather buddied up with Courtney. Now she's taking time away from Scott hanging out with Courtney. Or something just as effective, like asking Scott, hey, you want to get rid of Heather? And then Scott already had all those opinions, because I don't think Lindsay's like manipulative enough to come up with that sort of framing of Heather in a negative light. But it's as easy as just being like, Heather sucks, let's vote her out. I don't think it'd be hard to convince Zoe or Cameron to vote for Heather. Courtney definitely is voting for Heather because Zoe got them to fight, so that all works nice and dandy. Heather gets eliminated. I think here's where I'm finally going to try and drop this intern storyline. We'll say Alejandro either maybe wants to get flushed with her, or maybe Alejandro's taunting Heather while on like the rim of the toilet. She's about to be flushed, and then Heather pulls him in, bicker as they get flushed together. That feels in line for their characters. And spin merge wheel minus winner to decide who winner nominates for Boney Island. Doesn't really matter, but let's just see. Cameron nominates Zoe. I mean, in the original Revenge of the Island, Chris told everyone when someone found the invincibility statue. Maybe in this world, Chris doesn't tell anyone when someone found the invincibility statue, and no one knows if someone found the invincibility statue. There's still a possibility people are like, oh, the invincibility statue's out there. Cameron's like, okay, if I send Zoe to the Boney Island, then maybe she can go find the statue. You know, now I'm helping out my buddy. Or maybe Cameron just lost so much of like the survivalist stings that he's like, I need Zoe to go on her own on a sad island in terrible conditions to bring back Commando Zoe so that she can be like me. I kind of like that reasoning more, actually. I'd like if Cameron keeps more of this edge. So I'd say that's the reason instead, actually, because I think that works better. The Trippers had falling out. Well, Trippers are gone, so that doesn't matter anymore. If someone found out about Mal, Mal's not here. If there's only someone that found out about Mal or Duncan on their own, no, it doesn't matter. Mal's not here. They do it for Mal's not here. Mal's not here. You know what? This one doesn't have to be Mal, honestly. Anyone can take a bite out of the red rope. I'm actually going to just spin for that. First, I'm going to spin the merge wheel to decide who uses the red rope and takes a bite out of it, and then spin merge wheel to see who uses it next, and then flip coin to decide if they catch ledge. Lindsay. Maybe we don't have to say it's more villainous. I don't know. It's tough because I haven't fully decided how much of a villain I want to make Lindsay, because she did do the Sierra vote, and I think it works nicely as a villain, but I also feel like we say it's villainous. I do think you could also just as easily go that, like, Lindsay's dumb and she thinks the rope tastes good, so she wants to take a bite of it and doesn't realize the consequences. Again, haven't decided fully yet. I don't know how much of a villain she is. She does it to Sam. That's kind of good callback because she offended him and then she hurts him in this way. I mean, first let's see if he's able to save himself. So heads, Sam is able to catch the ledge and not fall. Tails, he falls all the way down. Heads, he catches himself. So Sam doesn't suffer from this, but it is like a close I almost fell moment. Spin merge wheel to decide who gets zapped by the electric pipe rope. If they have a connection with someone, then they will stay back to help them. So, and get rid of Sam for that, actually, because Sam used the red rope for Lindsay's thing. Who went on the electricity rope and will get zapped? Zoe. I don't know how to work someone other than Scott using the electric rope, because why would they? It's such an obviously bad rope. Courtney and Scott use the other two ropes. Sam's on the licorice rope. So Cameron actually goes on the electric rope when he's like urging Zoe to come with him too. He's like, we don't have time to wait behind these other people on the ropes. We just have to go ahead. And then Zoe tries to climb up it, but she fails, gets electrocuted. And then speaking of which, does Cameron go back for Zoe? I don't know. This version of Cameron I'm making is kind of weird. Again, this is where it's like important to remind myself what I'm saying isn't like canon to the Wheels universe. It's not confirmed that like he's this wilderness thing, that this actually happened. He could still just be the good-natured person. I do think we'll say he goes back to try and help Zoe after she gets shocked. If Scott is here, he will still leave his backpack behind when it gets caught in the bush. So Scott is here, he will do that. Spin merge wheel to decide who wins the challenge. Add +2 disadvantage to solo person trying to take down that Mal. +1 disadvantage to person that fell on rope. Sam did not fall, so there's no +1 disadvantage. For person that got zapped through rope, if no one went back to help, Cameron went back to help, so that's fine. But then Scott leaving behind backpack. So the only +1 disadvantage is Scott leaving the backpack behind. And how this would work for giving him a disadvantage to make it less likely for him to win is I just go here and then I'll make him 0.5 so he's a bit smaller. So who wins the challenge? It is Lindsay. Good for her. I feel like we're getting some interesting winners for the challenge. We had Courtney, Cameron, and Lindsay. Spin merge wheel minus winners to decide who gets eliminated. Add +5 disadvantage, mousing, make it free, yep, never mousing. And never mousing. So we got no disadvantages, all mousings. Next person voted out is... Ooh, that one hurts. That one hurts. She's been doing really good on the story beats, but unfortunately the will does not protect anyone. Courtney does get eliminated. So I think I would say that when they were going through the leeches, Courtney probably cleared up stuff with Scott about like how she's just been struggling with the idea of trusting someone in that romantic sense again. Maybe she like helped Scott cross through the zip line after he left his back there, like they tried to ride together. Now for how Courtney gets eliminated, that's kind of a tough one. I do think I'm going to keep elements of what I said for Cameron. He's still like trying to be this like strong survivalist. He's trying to bring back out Commando Zoe. And maybe in doing so, he reminds Zoe about the effect that Courtney had in getting Mike eliminated. She was the one who, old school versus new school, really tries to spark the anger in Zoe about that whole situation. Lindsay, I could definitely see joining in on that vote. Even though Courtney gave her the heads up about Heather, they still never particularly got along. And I think Lindsay would probably also notice her being close to Scott. And maybe she's a bit envious about that because of what happened with her and Tyler. So that's 3 votes there. Probably need Sam and some sort of vote with that to make it work. Just say like Zoe talks to Sam, tells her everything with like the mic and how hurt she was by what he did, and really guilt trips Sam about it. Maybe even like threatens Sam a bit to show the Commando Zoe side starting to sneak back out. That's enough for him to buckle and vote for Courtney. This important DVD was a mousing. Chrissy's mentioned that non-blow-ups, the winner of last challenge, gets sent to Boney Island after complaining. Otherwise, spin merge wheel minus winner to decide who winner sends to Boney Island. This next one's just to decide who Lindsay sends to Boney Island. Zoe again. That is harsh. Why would Lindsay want Zoe to go there? I feel like it would make most sense if she'd want like Scott to go, maybe Sam to go. I'm not sure. Maybe we could say Zoe trying to push back against Cameron, like wanting the Commando Zoe side to come out, get to the end in a friendship finale. Zoe has been like particularly more nice. You're trying to help people out of like Sam at points before she got electrocuted and stuff like that. And Lindsay, I guess, just really isn't liking that and wants to punish Zoe for doing that. At this point, we could probably say that Lindsay is definitely a villain. We will say that she got out Sierra because she didn't want to die about the idol. She was able to have the influence to eliminate Heather and then eliminate Courtney shortly after. Could say she came up with like lies about Heather to Scott to make it happen. So Lindsay's like a very socially unassuming villain out of nowhere. So I do think Lindsay is our villain based on everything so far. Still got a couple more episodes, maybe something changes, but I kind of doubt it at this point. Flip a coin to see if someone made a chart. If yes, spin merge wheel to see who. This chart will be traitorous to their alliances. First, we're going to flip coin to see if it happens. Heads, it still happens. Tails, it does not. Tails, it does not. One makes a stupid chart. Mal's here, Mal's not here. Spin merge wheel to see who in the challenge slips off the icy edge. Spin merge wheel to see who in the challenge slips off the icy edge of the cliff. If they have a connection to anyone, then they will be saved by them. Lindsay. Okay, makes sense. She's a bit clumsy. Do I think she actually has any connections here? I'm not 100% sure. She's not that well connected to Cameron and Zoe at all. She burned her connection with Sam. I don't think her and Scott had any good moments. Yeah, Lindsay would dangle there, get up on herself, but lose a lot of time and fall behind. Spin merge wheel to see who gets the early lead in the swamp, and then again to see who saves them from a croc. I'm not going to include Lindsay for that because she fell behind at the icy edge. Who has the lead in the swamp? Cameron. So he really is just transforming. And Scott saves him. Do I even want to try and wrap my head? Oh wait, no, actually, because there's another thing I almost forgot about. Flip coin to see if it is just a nice gesture, or if they use it to take the lead. Heads, it is just a nice gesture, but tails, Scott uses it to make Cameron unassuming, and then pushes Cameron's head in the swamp water and continues in the challenge. Similar to what Mal did with Gwen. That's what it is. That makes a lot more sense. And just like the concept of Cameron getting the early lead and the swamp, I still want to say he like used his brain. He rode over on a log. I like the idea of him being a Commando Zoe like figure, but he's not just using strength. He's using his brain in really smart, strategic ways. And he's got it, because Scott at this point is just kind of like a man on his own. He's the only villain left, well, per villain that was on the villains team. All four of them voted out Courtney. Scott like has no allegiance to anybody. He's just kind of his own man, and he's willing to betray anyone to get to the end. Spin merge wheel to see who gets beat up by the drama machine. I can add back everyone for that. The person who gets beat up by the drama machine is Lindsay. Rough day for her. She fell off on the icy edge and got beat up by the drama machine. If Mal is here, he's not here. So spin merge wheel to decide who wins. Remove 2 people sabotaged by Mal. Well, no 2 people were sabotaged by Mal. So I want to give disadvantage to Lindsay because she fell off the edge and got... I do think I'll give her disadvantage because the fact that she got beat up by the drama machine and she got the icy edge with no one helping her. I didn't really account for in my head if someone would get both, but the fact that someone did, it feels like they probably shouldn't have a great chance of winning. The winner of this challenge is... Scott. So Scott's able to keep his lead and win the challenge, which is good because I do feel like he would have been crossed by everyone here, so the fact that he gets the win makes it a lot easier for me to explain when he probably doesn't get voted out. Spin merge wheel minus winner to decide who gets eliminated. +2 advantage to chart person, +2 disadvantage to DVD, Mal, +3 disadvantage to Mal, not a thing. So no disadvantages. Scott won the challenge. Which of these 4 people get voted out? Zoe. Let me think about this. So Lindsay and Cameron, well, Lindsay like unintentionally, but they were both unintentionally or intentionally pestering Commander Zoe to come out. So maybe during this challenge, Commander Zoe did come out and bottling up all the emotions she had about Mike going like this entire season and Cameron, like her best friend, kind of churning on her and egging this out of her, I think would make Commando Zoe come out in a very vicious way. She's extremely like rude and guard off in the challenge. Maybe like she's the one who got Lindsay attacked by the drama machine by like pushing her into the drama machine when she saw the opportunity. Maybe like worked with Sam in the fire breathing plant to distract it, but then Sam got hurt and Commando Zoe just continued. So she kind of like burns bridges to everyone, making Lindsay, Sam, and Scott all want to vote for her. And Cameron feels terrible about making this happen because he realizes that Zoe was right to not want to let Commander Zoe out because she's an unstable beast. She's not tameable. She's extremely unhinged and dangerous. That's how that goes. Probably also made Cameron start back down on, what he's doing, trying to be the lone wolf, strong, lightning type, so he tries to be a bit normal, realizing the fire he's playing with. DVD person got eliminated, that did not happen, blah 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 blah, doesn't matter. There's so much mouse stuff. I did not realize how much was mouse stuff. It's because like I'm counting for all the different areas at which points people can find out about Mal or still being here. So there's so many like different variations of like when those people get eliminated that I had to account for. But I did not realize how much they took up my notes. Mal's here. Spin merge real see he tries manipulating. To not trust someone else for previous elimination. Previous elimination, who that someone is if necessary. Okay, Mal isn't here. Same thing that Mal did with Scott to Gwen, where he convinced Scott that Gwen was the reason that Courtney got eliminated. Spin merge wheel, see who's trying to manipulate someone that same way. And I guess I'll have to spin again to see who they're trying to manipulate that person against, and then flip corner to see if it's possible. Who's the manipulator here? Who's trying to get someone to believe that the other person's involved? Scott. So I guess Scott's playing a little more strategic now. Scott is trying to convince Sam that Cameron was the one responsible for Zoe. Okay, that one actually makes a lot of sense because Cameron was the one who kept egging her. So it's not even like actually manipulative, it's just kind of the truth. So Scott like tries to inform Sam that, hey, Cameron's the one who brought that to Zoe, Cameron can't be trusted. But now here's to see if Sam actually believes Scott for that. Heads, he does. Tails, he does not. Heads, he does. Okay, so Sam takes that to heart. He sees what Scott's saying. Or maybe Sam also realized they've all been manipulating him for, what he did to Mike when it was just him voting the way he was supposed to, because he was right that they were all closer to each other than him. So Sam fully realized this all now. He's like, okay, everyone's been playing me. I'm gonna, take the game back in my own hands. Spin wheel with all the treasures to decide which one the winner of the last challenge picks, then continue spinning wheel to assign everyone a treasure. So the box that Scott gets and has to retrieve for treasure is the art. It was originally stated as the art from Chris's blown up mansion, but now the mansion was never blown up. I'm not sure how that works. I've hypothesized it before in what ifs that Chef's the one guarding the art in the mansion, and it's kind of like a spy mission sort of thing where he has to break into the mansion and not get found by Chef. So this is what I'm going to stick with for sake of simplicity. So the next person to open a box is Lindsay. and the box that Lindsay opens says her treasure that she has to collect is the long-lost invincibility statue. Next person to open a box is Sam. The box that Sam opens says that his treasure he has to find is the Yeti. Cameron has to find the diamond on Fang. If Mal is here, he will sabotage other people. If he isn't, then flip coin to decide if person that got statue plans to sabotage, then spin wheel to decide who. So, of course, Lindsay is the sabotager, but does Lindsay go through with trying to sabotage someone else, like Mal? Heads, she does. Tails, she does not. Oh... Sam, Cameron, Scott are her options. Who does she sabotage? Cameron. I mean, does she have to? He's kind of suffering enough. Saboteur will not be eligible to win, but also won't be eligible for first lost. Spin merge wheel to decide who wins a challenge, and then again minus winner, and above if applies to decide who loses the challenge and gets automatically eliminated. We're spinning with everyone to decide who wins. Actually, not everyone, because Lindsay's ineligible to win the challenge, but she's also not eligible to lose. So which of these three are able to win the challenge? Actually, Cameron should probably have worse odds, but it doesn't matter. Scott wins again, and then that means between Cameron and Scott, which of them fail at getting Sing back so spectacularly that they lose? Cameron. Okay, makes sense. Lindsay came over to Cameron, told him she'd help him, but then she sabotages him, brings back an injured Cameron. He wasn't able to bring back anything, and I guess Sam was able to get back a Yeti. I feel like he gets a handful of, Yeti fur, because that feels a lot more doable for Sam. Cameron is not able to come back by anything else, and he gets eliminated. If winner is above, doesn't matter, Mal's eliminated. Winner is Mal, also doesn't apply. Neither apply, then spin a wheel with the 2 to decide who the winner takes to the finale. However, if they have a bond such distance from one of the choices, acknowledge that with a +1 advantage / +1 disadvantage. Now, technically in the world I've been writing, it would make sense that Scott would have an aversion to taking Lindsay for all the stuff she's done, particularly relating to Courtney, but that wasn't actually a confirmed thing. I never did a spin that said Lindsay was directly responsible for Courtney's elimination. Scott doesn't actually have a confirmed hatred for either Lindsay or Sam. So this is perfectly even. Who does Scott take to the finale? Sam, which cannot happen because Lindsay has the invincibility statue. But it does make perfect sense why Scott would have wanted to take Sam over Lindsay. Sam's not as threatening, and Lindsay is involved in a lot of ways that have upset Scott, so it makes sense why Scott is doing this, but yeah, Lindsay's gonna go to the end no matter what. It also makes her decision to sabotage Cameron actually make infinitely more sense too, because she's guaranteeing she won't be eliminated by bringing something, and then guaranteeing she won't be eliminated here by having the statue. Even more thought out and malicious, I suppose. The duality of this finale is actually very well done. You have Scott, who was originally on the villain's team, kind of transform into more of a hero. It's not a hero, but he's definitely more like an anti-hero. And Lindsay, this sweet, lovable, bubbly person, turn into a full-blown villain who was originally on the hero's team. The duality of them, which is one came in as a hero, was a despicable villain, one came in as a villain, turned into anti-hero. Very interesting light and dark side to this finale. Of Mal, even I found out Mal isn't even here. Add everyone from the season back into the wheel. Flip coin to decide for which finalist shoots first. But then spin the wheel twice to see what 2 helpers they shoot down. And then 2 times the other finalist helpers. Heads, Lindsay goes first for these helpers. Tails, Scott goes first. Lindsay. So these are the helpers that Lindsay will shoot down. Heather. That's really good, actually. And her second helper is Lightning. That's a bit more of a random one. I guess we need a bit of comedic relief in the finale. This is the first helper that Scott shoots down. Sierra. Kind of a weird choice, but Sierra and Lindsay had a bit of a connection where Lindsay betrayed her, so I think that's kind of interesting. Definitely wouldn't be the top of my list, but again, we do not question the wheel. The wheel is all-knowing. His second helper, Mike. Mal never came out because Mike didn't experience the hit to the head of the shovel. So Mike's just been Mike this entire time. I think this is actually interesting. It's a bit weird that he's the first boot and then he comes back as a helper. But Mike is someone who was definitely burned by the way Scott played in Revenge of the Island. Scott got him eliminated, Scott manipulated and used him. The idea now that Mike has to put that behind to act as a helper, maybe not. I do think that works pretty well. If I was writing this, I probably would switch out Sierra for Courtney, but that's not what this video is. Flip coin to decide which of the finalists pole vaults over the toxic waste moat, the other uses the logboat. Heads, Lindsay, tails, Scott for pole vaulting. Lindsay pole vaults. I'm not sure how she does that. Maybe she uses Light Ming's athleticism, and this is how we could justify Light Ming being a helper. Like, Light Ming carries her in one arm and pole vaults with the other to get her across the moat. Cool way of doing that. And then Scott just uses a bow, kind of a scrappy guy, so flip coin to decide which finalist uses the ladder bridge to cross the lava moat, and the other uses a pogo stick. This time, heads Scott, tails Lindsay. Lindsay pulls up ladder, uses some of that brain, lays it across the lava to use it as a bridge, and Scott uses a pogo stick, which is kind of in character for his more goofy side that was prevalent in All Stars. All defeated, Mal's never here. Flip coin to decide which of the finalists is in danger in the water moat, and then flip again to see if the other finalist helps them or not. Who's in danger with Fang in the water moat? Tails Lindsay, heads Scott. Scott is in danger, and then does Lindsay save Scott from Fang? Head she does, tails she does not. Maybe she's reverted on her ways a little. Maybe Heather's actually like proud of Lindsay of how she's playing, and that makes Lindsay realize like, oh, Heather likes the way I play the game. I must have done something wrong. I know in the original all the other people floated off in the balloons, but we could just say in this world they were tied down, all popped for the finale and chanting against Lindsay for what she did. Lindsay realized she went a bit too far, sees an opportunity to be an okay person, and decides to save Scott. Kind of all cliche, but whatever. Spin wheel with just finalists, best out of 3 to see who wins Total Drama All Stars. The finalists left for Fang give a 1.5 chance. They did not. It is going to be a perfect 1-to-1. Best out of 3 though. So for the first spin, Lindsay. Our next spin is... okay, kind of anticlimactic, but Lindsay won on her second spin. Lindsay is the winner of this randomizer. Very different from the original. I don't really know how to feel about this randomizer. I think it's really weird how, like, a lot of things I did in my first randomizer, I'm not going to make the exact connections, so I don't spoil the first randomizer if you haven't watched it. But for just, like, some light spoilers, the person who found the statue in the Revenge of the Island randomizer played it at Final 3 to save themselves, to brought into the finale. Lindsay found the statue and played it at the Final 3 to get herself into the finale. The finale structure of this person who at first was like an awful person actually being a good person, being the hero, versus someone who looked like they were a good person and actually turned to be a villain. Same structure there. For this season, it actually probably works a bit better because the whole premise of the season was, well, one All-Stars, so there was past with contestants. Scott and Lindsay were actually alternating the people they were before the show, whereas in the Revenge of the Island, which was like the perception of who they were coming into the season that they turned on, and the premise of the teams, heroes and villains. You have one hero making it to the end, one villain making it to the end. You have one person from the first generation and Lindsay, another person from the second generation and Scott. You have one girl, you have one guy, you have their kind of like complete inverses of each other in personality as well. You have the bubbly, sweet, popular girl, and then brutish, scrappy farmer boy. Coming into both my randomizers, I was truly ready for anything to happen. Like, going into this randomizer, I knew there was a possibility that I might have to write a finale for Sam and Sierra. Like, that is a real thing that could have happened. So going into these randomizers thinking like anything can happen, and then to have this one, the ending finale, be the similar version of what I got last time, is the least gratifying thing that I could have expected. Even though I do think it's good, like I do like Scott and Lindsay when I think about it through that lens. I like that Lindsay got the win. Like last season, it was like I had chocolate ice cream for the finale. It was a good finale that I really enjoyed. And coming into this season, I was ready for anything in the ice cream parlor shop. And I got like Rocky Road, it's like, it's just chocolate ice cream, but you put some marshmallows in. It's an improvement on what I got last time. However, literally anything could have happened. So it's a little disappointing in that lens. The merge itself just was really messy. The fact that Duncan, Courtney, and Heather all get eliminated back to back in the very beginning of the merge is a really big bummer. Those are 3 massive names that I all feel like actually had like interesting plots kind of going on too, mainly with Courtney. So to have them all eliminated so quickly, and then be stuck with characters like Cameron and Sam and Zoe, all of which I didn't really know what I was doing with. I wasn't a fan of like how I wrote Zoe's elimination. I think looking back on it, maybe it shouldn't have been a command of Zoe thing. It could have just been like Cameron and Zoe were talking about being a friendship finale, and then Zoe was targeted for being part of that. But even then, when you do that, then it becomes really boring for Cameron, who would have had literally nothing going on. Sam didn't really have much going on for most of the merge phase, and that's just because I wasn't really writing for them, because I was putting my eggs in the Heather and Cordy and Duncan baskets, and then all those baskets it's quickly fell through. So it wasn't an amazing randomizer rewrite, whatever. I do still think it was better than the original just because of the fact that we didn't have to deal with Mal. But then again, I think the spins also, it sucked that there were so many Mal spins that I planned out. I didn't get to accordingly use in any way. I talked about this at the end of part 1 that I wish I would have implemented more mouse spins into being less mouse specific things. Like mainly the rigging of the votes against Cameron, I made that a mouse specific thing, and there was a bunch of stuff involving the rigging of the votes and like finding the DVD to see who rigged the votes. The person who rigged the votes frames the other person for it. If that works, like there's a whole bunch of stuff there that I didn't get to use that I think I probably should have just used even without Mal there. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.